please turn to the page we were doing yesterday. We're going to go ahead and start our second thing for this chapter, and that is going to be estimate sums and differences. Just a reminder that the joy of watching Mrs. Jenkins instead of doing it with me in class is that you can pause me if I'm going too fast. If you don't understand something, you can pause me and come up and talk to me if you need to, etc., etc. So, just a reminder. So we're going to go ahead and estimate sums and differences. So one way to estimate is to use rounding. And I want you to write that. Okay, so one way to estimate is to round. Okay, we did rounding yesterday. If you remember our chapter 5, we rounded decimals. Sorry about that. So today we're going to be estimating. Okay, the two are very similar. It's going to be pretty easy compared to what we did yesterday, so I have no worries. All right, so I'm going to read this example, and then we're going to go ahead and start it. So, Hadassah used a digital thermometer to find the morning temperature and afternoon temperature. She found the morning temperature was 31.3 degrees Fahrenheit, and the afternoon temperature was 37.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Estimate the difference in average temperatures. Okay, before we go any further, remember that a sum is after you add, okay? And a difference is after you, I almost said multiply on accident, after you subtract, okay? Remember, everything I write, you need to write, even if it's something simple like sum and difference, okay? You guys have been learning this for a long time. You should hopefully know the difference between those two words. All right, so now that I talked so much, I'll remind you what the temperatures were. So we've got 31.3 degrees Fahrenheit, which was our morning temperature. And then we had 37.6 degrees Fahrenheit as our afternoon temperature. Okay, so these are our two temperatures. Now, right off the bat, I really hope you know that we're going to have to do it with this one starting and this one underneath, especially if we're finding the difference, okay? Remember, she said estimate the difference in average temperatures, okay? So, one way that we can round, so the first way is we can round to the nearest 10. I want you to underline that word, okay? So if we round to the nearest 10, we're going to go ahead and round to that 37.6 first. If we're rounding this to the nearest 10, we're going to go ahead and round that to 40. Remember, just like yesterday, when it's asking you to go to the nearest 10, this is your tens place, so you're looking at the number next to it and putting your number up. Now, we rounded to the nearest whole number, so that's why it's 40 and not 37, okay? And then so we could round 31.3 to 30. Remember, we're looking at the number over. Since it's below 4, it's a 3, that's why we rounded down to 30, okay? So that is one way you could do it. Then all we have to do is take 40 minus 30, which would give us 10. Okay, so we could say there's about a 10-degree difference. Okay, there's my little degree sign. All right, that is one way we could do it. Okay, Now we're going to go ahead and split this on up. The second way we could do this. And I completely did this backwards, my bad. I was looking at the ones place, my bad. I'm sorry, guys. So go back over here. You should actually be looking this way over and this way over. Sorry, I got my place values backwards. My bad. So you should actually be looking at that 3 and this 3 and putting them up according or down according to the next number. Sorry about that. Miss Jenkins forgot our place values. All right, so that is rounding to the nearest 10, okay? Now we're going to round to the nearest 1, which is what I was trying to do earlier. So 37.6. If I'm rounding that, I'm going to go ahead and round from this way over here. Since that 6 is higher than 5, I'm going to round it up to 38. Okay? Then my 31.3, I'm going to look at my ones place again, my actual ones place, not my tens place. Oopsie daisy. And we're going to round this to 31. Okay? Remember, just like we learned yesterday, if it's over 5, go up 1. If it's 4 or below, go ahead and keep it the same. Okay? So that way I would just have to do 38 minus 31, which would give me 7 degrees. Okay? These two numbers, even though they are different, they are very close together, so it would give me a good estimate to figure out what the actual answer is. Okay? Hopefully you are with me so far. Let's go ahead and try another example. So I'm going to go on to this next page. Again, if you need to, pause me, go back if you need to. This is really at your pace. Okay? So now what we're going to go ahead and do is example number 2. So we're going to estimate $5.26 plus 1.93 by rounding to the nearest 1. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just round these two. Remember, we're looking at the nearest 1. So that is the number right before the decimal. Okay, so we're looking to the next number over on the right. So it's a 2, which is underneath, or under, not underneath, under 4. So we're going to go ahead and keep it as a 5. Now remember, because I'm rounding it to the nearest 1, I don't need that 0.26 anymore. Sorry, my thing's focusing. I don't even need point anything. I can just leave it as 5. Okay? Next number was 1.93. Again, we're looking at the number right before the decimal. We're looking over here. Since that is a 5 or above, 9 is above 5, obviously, we're going to round that to 2. And again, we don't need that 0.93 anymore. Okay? So now we're going to go ahead and just add. Okay? So we're going to do 5 plus 2, which is going to give us 7. So the sum of these two is about 7. Okay? Pretty simple so far. We're going to go ahead and do one more together, and then I'm going to give you guys time to try a few on your own. You need to come show Mrs. Jenkins before you are allowed to move on to your homework. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this one together. We're going to round each decimal to the nearest 1. Make sure you're following directions. So if it's asking you for the 1, make sure you're going to the 1. Not like Mrs. Jenkins did earlier. Great example of what not to do. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do a difference. So let's do subtraction. We've got 5.98 minus 1.03. Okay, So let's round my 5.98 first. If I'm rounding to the 1, I'm looking at this place right here. The number next to it is a 9, which is bigger than 5, so I'm going to go ahead and round that up to 6. Again, don't need that point anymore. I just got it to a whole number. Okay, my 1.03, I'm going to go ahead and look at that 1, look at the number over. 0 is definitely below the 4, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that as a 1. Now all I have to do is subtract. So I'm going to go ahead and do 6 minus 1, which would give me 5. Pretty easy peasy. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a couple problems to do by yourself. And again, you need to show Mrs. Jenkins before you can move on to your homework. Okay, so here we go. Here are your 2 on your own problems. The first one I want you to try on your own is going to be 23.78 plus 10.45. Round both of these to the nearest 10. Remember, Mrs. Jenkins messed up early on this one, so make sure you're paying attention to that 10 and know where it is. All right, the second one I want you to try is, let's see, 83.69 minus 55.41. And again, you're rounding this to the nearest 10. Come up and show Mrs. Jenkins when you're done. Sorry if you can't see that. So that I can mark that you are finished and I can have you move on to your homework. Okay? Ready, set, go!